All right, so welcome back to Keys and Gears. I'm Mark here, local mortgage lender in Texas, and this is Bess Dickson, a local real estate professional in Texas. We're here to give you kind of the nitty gritty real estate. Today, we're going to talk about PIDs, and that does not mean penguins in distress. It means something else. I don't, who comes up with these? I mean, PID.
I don't
What is a
know.
PID, Bess? Please explain. PID.
PID, Public Improvement District. So not a very good start of a rap song.
Public Improvement District. Yes. I got to wrap my head around that. So,
Ba-dum-bum.
improvement district
Right.
typically means to me that it's has to do with property taxes, right? Do they
Interesting.
collect taxes or what do they do?
You're you're pretty close to right. And
Okay.
that is a PID, PID, Public Improvement District, is a tax,
Okay.
essentially. All
It's a
right.
so
But
it's a
it's a
fee.
tax that only affects a particular delineated district.
Okay. So it has boundaries. It's
It has
and
boundaries.
who comes up with the PIDs with the PIDs?
So I have not deep dove to figure out
Right.
who came up with this plan,
No,
but
but I mean
originally,
in a
but
subdivision, I mean,
essentially it is it, essentially there's so many different ways we could answer this, but
yeah.
essentially it is an alternative to bonds. So all of us are
Okay.
familiar with municipal bonds,
Municipal bonds are a way for the government to raise money to do public
improve
work
roads,
projects.
build fire stations, build
Right,
schools,
right.
library, whatever it might be. Uh,
So a PID goes beyond just a subdivision. It could be a whole area, like a much bigger area, right?
It could be. It most often, though, is in fact a subdivision, like a
Just a
master
subdivision.
plan
Oh,
community.
okay,
All
okay,
right. For example, a pretty there's several up in Prosper, Texas,
okay.
which is actually north and east a bit of Frisco.
Hmm.
Many people are familiar with Frisco,
Right,
and Prosper was this was their solution to answer the question, and that is ranchers are selling their land to these developers. Developers are wanting to create a high resort
right.
amenity
Yeah.
community with highly rated schools. None of that's free.
Mm-hmm.
And 20 years ago, we were a 2-lane dirt road community. So how do we go from that to a community that has enough police officers, that has enough fire to protect,
Right.
that has the schools to protect, that
The
has the
infrastructure.
infrastructure
Yeah, yeah.
to support 500,000 home communities
Right, right,
that are selling at such a
right.
pace? I mean, North Texas still has to this day. We still have was it most interesting? It's like 1,000 family. I think we've dropped a bit, but there's over 1,000 families a day moving into our area,
Mm-hmm.
right? So those 500 homes, they're not even built and they're already technically
Right,
sold.
right.
But how do you do that without stifling, without changing dramatically the lifestyle of your farmers, your locals that are already there? And that's the challenge. A bond has to be paid back, and
Right.
it's paid
All
back via taxes,
right,
property taxes,
right.
right? And many of you viewers, dear viewers out there, you hear all the time that property taxes in Texas are so high. So
Mhm.
how do we mitigate
So
that
in
increase?
essence, because if I'm a farmer and my next door neighbor farmer sold his land, now in a bond, I will be paying his development over there. So I'm not
And he's
agreeable to
already
that.
he's already in the
Not to,
Bahamas,
not, yeah, not,
right?
well,
With the
maybe,
money from selling his
maybe,
land, who knows?
who knows? But and it's also probably a faster way to raise money than a bond has to go through election,
Right.
and elections don't happen every day. So it probably is a faster workaround to be able to put infrastructure in place
Hmm.
for specific neighborhoods. Interesting. And so that fee that people pay, do you know how they pay that? Is that part of their property tax or how's that added? Like,
Great question. How do you pay that? All sorts of ways, because PIDs are are lawyer are lawyer created beasts,
yeah.
and so each one is slightly different. There are actually a few PIDs I've come across that are paid in property taxes via your property
Yeah,
tax.
right.
It's
It's a line
stipulated.
item on your property taxes, right? Yeah, I've seen it that way. Yeah.
Uh, but the more sophisticated PIDs, the more recent ones, there's fees when you buy your house.
Oh,
And then
so unexpected fees when you're buying your
so it could
house
be
because
additional
you
closing
didn't.
costs,
Yeah, exactly.
which is how you get
Wow.
tied into this.
Wow.
Uh, so and those fees often are both buyer and seller responsibility.
Wow.
All right, so it just, and then there is a amortization table for some of them. So if the PID has been around for 10 years, then it's this much. If the PID's been around for 11 years, because the way most PIDs work is each home site is assigned a, uh, a total PID investment
Yeah, like a
amount,
right,
payback amount. That's it,
right.
payback.
And
If
it's
it's
spread
accrued to
over. It's
a
spread
bond,
over a time, right? And
right,
it's spread
20
over.
years, 30
Yeah.
years, whatever it might be, right?
So whoever owns that has to pay their fair share during the time that they own it, right? It's like
Exactly.
an HOA fee. I mean, it's you pay your fair share every month, based on your home site.
It's
So
pretty
it varies
interesting.
home site to home site. Probably the size of the home site matters, and so on and so
And in
forth.
exchange for that, you've got 2, 3, 4, 5 resort pools. You've got the amenity
Well,
center.
and not
You've
just
got
that, but
roads,
the roads that were
curbs,
built and
sidewalks.
the schools that were built
You've
for
got
your kids to go.
schools.
So it makes sense. I'm just saying it if it was unexpected to a home buyer. So you gotta figure out is this a neighborhood with that setup or not, because it can affect your financing.
It can,
Right.
and because people, there's probably lots of reasons why, as there is for most things, but essentially to help mitigate the surprise, Texas Association of Realtors created TREC,
Yeah,
Texas Real Estate Commission,
yeah.
created a form a few years ago called it's not called the PID form. We call it the
Yeah,
the
right.
the
But
vernacular's PID form.
a disclosure
But it's
form.
a disclosure
Right,
form
right.
that informs the buyer there is a municipal utility district in place for this home, a MUD,
Yeah,
that there is a PUD, a public utility district,
yeah.
or that there is a PID,
Yeah.
a
Or a
public
combination of. Could it be a
right.
combination of all those two?
Public Improvement District. Boy, we're just testing Bess
My
on her
gosh.
alphabet. But it's designed to protect the seller. One, that the buyer can't back up, is no longer able to say you didn't tell me.
Yeah, right.
But it's also designed to protect, as a consumer commission does. They can protect the consumer, the buyer, and that is, hey, you need to know. This is what's going on. And on the form, it tells you the entity that is in charge of collecting it and how they collect it and all these other things.
Wow. So this is interesting. If you're purchasing homes outside of a metroplex, you probably need to be checking on that.
And asking.
Hopefully it's disclosed in MLS already where the agent can see it, but they may not.
Right. I mean, sadly.
Right. And
there's not always consistent reporting.
And in my experience, oftentimes if you ask the listing agent, they don't even know because they haven't done enough due diligence on their part either. So professionalism comes into play here too. So.
And to our defense, I will say it's such a new concept.
Right.
And also the reporting of it is the mandated reporting of it is such a relatively new concept that there's no there's no consistent central reporting spot. I mean, even the website in the trainings that I have been going to, because I definitely am one that wants to be proactive in these things. The instructor has said, well, there is this website they're working on, but it's not fully populated.
As a database, yeah, right. We're early on in the process.
So it does take some digging. You have to Google. You need to deep dive into the neighborhood itself, talk to the city, all these things.
Talk to the seller.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
Well, this was fascinating because I'd never heard of a PID before. But what's even more fascinating is the picture we're about to look at. What are we looking at?
What are we looking at today? Well, we're looking at a flipped kitchen. And in whites and lovely grays, which, by the way, gray is going. So
Yes,
just be mindful. It's going, gone.
out of the door. Yeah.
Out the door.
Yeah.
I digress. So when they apparently when they were measuring out cabinets and everything else, they mismeasured a smidge. So what do you do when you've ordered these custom cabinets? Since it is a flip, I would guess that they probably got them wholesale and no return and
Right.
all these other things.
Right.
You mismeasured, and you can't move the back wall of your house,
Right.
and so you've got an amazing peninsula in this kitchen, which is it's lovely, but it's about 21 inches too big.
Yeah.
And so what they did was they went ahead and extended the counter, and now they made this eat at bar ? Because what Mark and I are looking at is a built-in bench, which obviously was originally designed to just be
Cabinets.
They're actually uppers. If you look
Right.
at them, they're
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
upper cabinets that have now been turned into a bench. And then they have a piece of wood thrown on the top and painted to match. And what's interesting is they left the doors in play.
I know.
But then they slid this little step stool
Yeah. For what?
thingy for people to put their feet on. And
does
it's
that
it's
really-
raw edge 2x4. Look,
I was gonna say, it's
with a
not
2
even
by 8
finished
on top.
nicely.
It is
And you can't
hilarious,
use the doors.
right? Yeah, no, you can't use the doors.
But you really couldn't use it even if that little foot bench wasn't there. I'm not sure that door would open all the way to
Right.
a point where it's functional.
But Bess, it is what it is. What are you gonna do? Well, okay, what would Bess have done?
Yeah.
Bess, if I had forgotten the old rule, measure twice,
Right.
cut once.
Yes,
Okay, if
yes.
I had accidentally put myself in this situation, and my investor and or home owner
Owner.
is looking at me saying, "Okay, Bess, now what?"
What do we do?
I would have, if you look between that power
Yep.
power supply on the side,
Yep.
there's about 11 inches.
Yep.
I would have gone ahead and put on my big girl pants and cut the back of that cabinet. Had my finished carpenter cut the back of that cabinet and move it in
Yeah.
to right there
Yep.
at that electric box,
Yep.
and then I would have popped up the counter
Okay.
and had a bar height counter, because if you pop it up right there, you've got about 36 inches, which is the code minimum to be
typical.
able to have space between
Yeah.
different things.
Yeah.
Yes, it would have blocked a little bit of the view, a smidge, but
No.
it
not
still
too
would have been
badly.
usable space, and it would have been really, I think, really cool for people to be able to sit there, enjoy the chefing,
Yeah.
and also looking at the beautiful
I
backyard.
think that makes sense to me.
It wouldn't have cost any more than what they did.
Right.
And then I guarantee you those cabinets, these upper cabinets, when you see this on YouTube, you'll see there is, above the peninsula, there is a blank wall
Yeah.
that looks extremely unfinished.
Yes.
It's screaming for shelves. They've
Yes.
got a plug in the middle of it.
Yes,
Obviously,
for
they're
TV
thinking
or
TV,
something.
which is silly.
Yeah. No.
Anyway, I have to wonder if part of the thought was to put those upper cabinets above
Yeah.
that plug or something
the
like
whole
that.
kitchen looks like an afterthought after. Yeah. It's just oh, we have extra space.
That's right.
What do we do?
Measure. When you're remodeling, measure.
That's too funny.
Yeah.
I love these photos. I love sharing the what in the hell were they thinking kind of moments that you have when you walk through houses, right?
Right. They were.
Happens all the time. You know.
Right? Exactly. It happens way too often. Way too often. But getting together with you and sharing with you out there, dear viewer, does not happen often enough. We sure are enjoying it. We hope you are too. And if you have any ideas of things you'd like for us to
Talk about
please
topics,
drop it in the
questions.
in the
ask us.
comments below.
Yeah.
All those things.
Yeah.
We drop every Tuesday
Come back next time. Watch the next episode, please.
as we share the keys to real estate and the gears of how to get you there.
That's right.
Love you, mean it.
Bye.